Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the numbers and letters thrown around when it comes to smartphone reviews? Like the processor speeds, megapixels, the RAM, 90 Hz refresh rate, you get it. It's enough to make your head spin. But here's the secret. Understanding these specs or specifications is actually like having a cheat code to choosing the perfect smartphone for you. Today, I'm here to decode smartphone specs in a way that anyone can grasp, whether you're a tech wizard or a complete newbie. At the end of this guide, you will be armed with the knowledge to confidently navigate the world of smartphones and find a device that's perfect for you. And so without taking much of your time, yo guys, let's get started. First up, let's start with the display. The screen is the part of the phone you interact with the most. So it's important to understand its key features like refresh rate, screen size, resolution, and more. The first thing you need to know about this is screen size, and that is measured diagonally in inches. So whenever you hear a 6.5-inch display, it means the diagonal measurement is 6.5 inches and not the length of the phone. Let's talk about resolution. Resolution is another important aspect of the display. It tells you how many pixels or tiny dots that make up the screen image. Common resolutions are HD, which is 720 pixels, Full HD 1080 pixels, Quad HD, which is 1440 pixels, and 4K, which is 2160 pixels. More pixels mean a sharper image, but after a certain point, the difference becomes hard to notice unless you look very closely. Full HD, which is 1080p, or slightly above that, maybe a QHD display, are like the sweet spot for most users. Getting any smartphone way beyond this recommended resolution would do more harm than good. Of course, it will drain your battery faster, task the processor more, and you won't really notice that difference from a certain resolution, which is the Full HD. Let's talk about pixel density. Pixel density is like counting how many tiny squares or pixels from a smartphone screen can fit into a specific space on a graph paper, which is a 1 square inch area. For instance, when you overlay this graph paper on your smartphone, a higher resolution smartphone will have more pixels fitting into that 1 inch space compared to a lower resolution smartphone. The higher the pixels per inch, or PPI, the sharper and clearer the display. So let's talk about the display technologies here. There are 3 main types of displays you'd find on modern smartphones. You get the LCD, the OLED, and the AMOLED. Don't worry if that sounds a little bit like alphabet soup. We'll break them down in this video.
Let's go.
LCDs, or liquid crystal display screens, are like a sandwich of light and crystals. Imagine tiny crystals that twist and turn when electricity passes through them. These crystals act like tiny shutters, either letting light through or blocking this light. This is how LCD creates the images you see on your screen. I don't really know how to explain this without going into details, but here's the summary. LCD screens are popular because they are less expensive to make, and this means that smartphones with these kind of displays often cost less. They are also really good at being bright, so you can see your screen clearly even when you're outside on a sunny day. However, they're a bit thicker than the other types of displays we'll touch on in this video, and that's because they have this special backlight to make the picture visible. Also, the blacks are a little grayish. OLED screens are like having millions of tiny colorful light bulbs on your smartphone's display. Each of these tiny lights can turn on and off super fast, and they can change to any color because they have RGB, which is red, green, blue colors, and these bulbs can combine to form any color on the screen. This means that OLED screens can create really vivid and beautiful images. One of the coolest things about OLED is that when it needs to show black, it can turn off that particular pixel completely. This makes the blacks look really deep and the colors pop out more, giving you a higher contrast ratio, and that's the difference between the brightest point on the screen and the totally turned off pixel. OLED screens are also thinner and lighter than LCDs, which is why many high-end smartphones use them. The downside here is that they are more expensive to make, so phones with OLED screens might cost a bit more than those with LCDs, and they're actually better. By the way, OLED means organic light emitting diodes. Now let's talk about AMOLED displays. AMOLED is like OLED's cooler, faster cousin. It takes all the good stuff from OLEDs and makes it even better. AMOLED screens can change their tiny light or pixels even faster than the OLED displays. This makes them really fantastic for things that move really quickly on the screen like than OLED, making everything on your screen look super bright and colorful. They are usually the thinnest and lightest of all screen types here, which is great for making sleek, modern smartphones. The catch is that AMOLED is the most expensive to produce, so phones with this kind of screen are often the priciest. Also, like OLED, they might not be as easy to see in very bright sunlight compared to the LCD displays.